Welcome to Fair Game. I'm Kristine Leahy, and we're here in Charlotte, North Carolina for the NBA All-Star Game. My guest today was a legend on the New York City basketball courts and the creator of one of the best crossover moves of all time. Now he's teaching those moves as an assistant coach for the Dallas Mavericks. Shammgod is here.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
You know, I actually don't know how you got your name, Shammgod.
That's my father's name, and his name is Shammgod. When I was in high school, my father had got locked up, so in the beginning, I was really mad at him about certain things. So when I got to high school, I just always put my mom's last name, and my mom's last name is Wells. So when I got in high school, I used to write Shammgod Wells. Because when I was little, when you're little, it's hard for kids to call you God and stuff like that without getting teased. So then when I got to high school, I used Shammgod Wells. And then when I got to college, they told me I had to use my birth name or change it. And at that time, I wasn't going to spend $500 to change my name to my mom's last name. So then, of course, everybody found out that was Shammgod, and then some people made a whole big spectacle of it. Mm-hmm. And some people thought it was me, he's
calling yourself God.
He's so arrogant, he want to call himself God and stuff like that. So it's funny, but I think the way I learned how to play basketball and things like that, as I got older, it became cool to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when they see me play, they kind of think it fits, because all the dribble and stuff and things like that. So, in the end, it works out. Everything works out. So
this, the Shammgod move, that is such a huge part of your legacy. So many players are replicating it. How did you come up with it?
When I was young, I used to always watch film of basketball players, to learn how to dribble, because in the beginning, I really didn't have no trainer. And then when I first started playing basketball, I used to be so embarrassed that I wasn't good in basketball. So I used to always tell people I was good, but I would never play. So I was real embarrassed. So once I did it by mistake, and then like I said, I used to always watch film. So I saw it on film to myself, and then me and one of my closest friends that was in college, Kobe Bryant, we went to the gym. After we watched the film, I'm like, oh, this probably could work. I'm like, this is good. We went to the gym, and I had to practice that move thousands of times, and then it just became a thing.
So you said you weren't good at basketball, but then is that what made you good?
No, what happened was, up until 13, I was okay in basketball.
Okay.
So when I was in junior high school, I had a coach by the name of Tiny Archibald. He's one of the top 50 greatest basketball players. But when I first met him, I didn't know that, because like I said, I wasn't into basketball when I was little. So when I went to my school, I'm learning how to play, and this older guy, he'd come to me and he's like, hey, you should do this. And I'm like, what is this old guy talking about basketball? He don't know nothing about no basketball. So then I go home and I'm watching a VHS tape, back then, and it's below the rim, and they got guards like Magic Johnson, Kevin Johnson, Tim Hardaway. And in the middle of it, they got older people like Pistol Pete Maravich, Earl Monroe. And then, of course, I had Tiny Archibald. So I come back to school the next day, and I'm like, why you didn't tell me you played in the NBA? And he was like, oh, you young kids think you know everything and all this other stuff. And then he told me, he was like, if you learn how to dribble, you will always be worth something to a team. Mm-hmm. So I got kind of obsessed personality. If I really like something, I do it over and over and over again. So then after that day, when he told me that, I just practiced morning, noon, and night, just dribbling. And then, of course, my God-given talent just kicked in. Yep. So then it all just all came together. And, from whether it's Chris Paul, whether it's Russell Westbrook, Dame Lillard, Jamal Crawford.
These are all guys that you taught how to do it?
No, it's all guys that ask me about it all the time. Okay. About, I grew up with Kyrie's father, stuff like that. So it's just all been a part of it. And when I meet them, it's all hey man, when I was young, I watched so much film on you, dribbling and stuff like that. And then when I'm around them, I just show them different versions of it. You
mentioned Kyrie. He's obviously got a very sick Shammgod move. Have you ever worked with him on it?
Yeah, we talked about it. We talked about it a lot. I showed him when we played Boston and stuff like that. And like I said, I knew his father forever and things like that. So yeah, Kyrie's special.
Who's got the best Shammgod move in the league right now?
Kyrie had it for a long time, but like this last 2 years, I guess everybody most noticed for, I guess, is Russell Westbrook.
Kobe also used it a lot. You guys used to play AAU basketball together. How's he at it?
Kobe is really good at dribbling. Like, Kobe is like, I actually physically trained Kobe. So, of course, I didn't know he was going to be Kobe Bryant. You know, like, you know, it's funny because when we first met, you know, when you, like I said, when you're little, that's why it's hard for me to use guard when I was little. So it's like, when me and Kobe first met, you know, he's always been like, kind of like Michael Jordan. You know, even
in what way?
Like mannerism, like walking, talking and stuff. Like he's always been like a professional.
Okay.
Like, since he was young.
Like you just knew something was great about him.
Yeah, so when we was little, we was all like, it would be a bunch of us, me, Stephon Marbury, just a bunch of kids growing up, Tim Thomas, all these people. And we used to actually not like Kobe. We used to always be like, man, he think he's Michael Jordan. Man, who does kid think he is? He ain't no Michael Jordan and stuff like that. And then me and his father got close because his father coached at LaSalle University. And I went to LaSalle High School. You know, when you're little, you just think of crazy stuff. I'm like, man, it would be dope to go to LaSalle High School and LaSalle College and stuff. So then his father was like, hey, you know, my son just came back. You know, we just came back from overseas and stuff like that. He was like, yeah, my son is real good, but he don't really know how to dribble. And I was like, no, he don't know how to pass the ball. He needs to pass the ball. Because at this point, I'm like McDonald's All-American, and he's under me, a year under me.
By the way, that not passing thing might have stuck with him.
Yeah. So then, after all that happened, I was like, well, I'll be in the gym in the morning. If he want to come, he could come. You know, I was just saying it thinking he wouldn't show up. You know, not knowing his mindset for real.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you know, I come to the gym like 6 in the morning. You know, I'm like, if he want to come, he could come. So I'm thinking he's not gonna come. He's
there
before me. And then we just worked on dribbling, worked on wide crossover, other dribbles and stuff like that. And then he just took off, and then he became Kobe Bryant. And I, like, growing up, I have never like told people the story. And then right the year before he retired, he was talking to the Boston Globe, I think it was. And I came to the game because Chauncey was like, hey, come to the game. Chauncey was with the Clippers. And he was like, come to the game. I came to the game. That's when I saw Chris Paul. And Chris was like, man, I grew up on you, man. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be playing. And then the next day, the Lakers played. So, of course, I went to the game, and then Kobe came out. He just hugged me. He was telling the Boston Globe, this is the guy that taught me how to dribble. This is the guy that taught me how to dribble. So, of course, then they wrote about it, and then that's when everybody started saying, you know, other people start calling me, like, hey, can you train me to do this, train me to do that? So
sure, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Back then, could you beat him one-on-one?
I don't know. It'd been tough, but I think I could have got that because I was kind of tough myself. So